Good afternoon, and welcome to the Art of a Well-Lived Life podcast, hosted by me, Katie Hauser. I am coming to you every Wednesday, usually first thing in the morning, Eastern Time in the United States. And I am here inspired by my good friend, Dr. Gladys McGarry, who passed away last year. She and I had Instagram live conversations for 3.5 years where we explored all kinds of topics on what that really means to live a well-lived life. And she wrote a book when she was 100, and it was published when she was 102. And in the last 2 years of her life, she was interviewed by 200 different podcasts. So in her passing, I thought it would be nice to carry on her legacy by interviewing some of the people or all of the people that had interviewed her. And so today I'm happy to have Michelle Lamoureux. I hope I said that right. She's the host of the Good Life podcast, where she talks with all kinds of amazing people about what it really means to live with more joy, purpose, and connection. Michelle has such a warm and thoughtful way of seeing life. I can't wait for you to hear our conversation. So, with no further ado, here we are. Yeah,
It
yeah,
says it.
okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, hello, Michelle. It's so nice to have you here. Yeah, it's just great. I was listening to your podcast with Dr. Gladys McGarry that you did. Unbeknownst to me, you did two. I only listened to one. And it's just so fun for me to be interviewing people that interviewed her. And so that was sort of my idea with this podcast because she and I had been doing this Instagram live for 3.5 years. And she was so tickled at at her reach in the last 3 years of her life with when her book came out, and then she was on podcasts, 200 podcasts, and we would have people on Instagram live from all over the world, and she always loved to know like where people were signing in from because she was born in 1924. No,
Amazing.
1920. And it's just what she saw as far as the ability to communicate globally. And so it was just so fun. So I'm so grateful that you said yes and that you were willing to be here with me today.
I'm so honored to be a part of this. Gladys impacted me so deeply. I've done over 380 interviews, and I have to say she
Oh,
is my favorite. And
oh.
my friend was saying, I was telling her I was going to be this conversation with you today about Dr. Gladys. And she's like, you've mentioned her so many times in conversation. And I said, it's because she impacted me so deeply.
And so what can you share? Like what was the impact on you? How was that for you?
Um, I'm actually are you cutting anything out or is this free or should I not be ad-libbing? No, you're not.
I'm not. I don't
It's
I don't
okay. You
have
don't know
editing
how.
in my world
Well,
yet.
I actually pulled up some notes. The reason I say that is because when you reached out, I'm like, let me just jot down
Yeah, great.
how. But here's some thoughts, but I'll just speak from my heart. I
Yeah.
mean, first of all, the fact that she wrote her first book, was she 90 when she wrote her first book? Something
Uh,
like that.
no, she was younger when she wrote her first
Oh,
book.
first one.
Yeah, because she probably wrote 7 or 10, maybe even.
Okay.
She wrote a handful. But this last one was really the culmination of what she really, really wanted to say and what her legacy was going to be.
Yes, exactly. And the
Yeah.
fact that, I mean, she's still writing in her 90s or like 100, I think that one that she came on my podcast to discuss, A
Yeah, she
Well-Lived
was a
Life, which
hundred.
I have somewhere on my bookshelf. Yeah, she was 100 years old.
Yeah.
And part
Yeah.
of my mission with the podcast is to invite women off the sidelines into their starring role and to embrace their voice and their gifts. And it was really beautiful to see how, even in her book, she was talking about learning m- diving more into her own self-love in her 90s. Like it's a dance, it's a process, it's a journey. And she was so generous in sharing that,
Hmm.
especially in
Hmm.
being able to do the culmination of what she's learned. I always think that anyone, our grandparents or whoever's alive, still your parents, like there's so much wisdom they have.
Hmm.
And we sometimes forget to ask.
Right. Yeah, and the fact that, I mean, I love her story and it's so relevant to all of us that, she'll say she didn't find her voice until she was 93.
Yeah.
Even though she had written books, she was, had been in practice for 60 years. She had been on many stages lecturing and talking and so it was like, well, what was that? Like what how did you and the thing was she always felt like she needed validation.
Mm,
So she owned what she said. She believed in what she said, but she just needed that validation, probably mostly from her husband, her then
mm.
husband,
Yes.
that it was good, it was right, it was worthy, it was, all of those things. And so, how many of us still struggle with the worth piece? And am I worthy? I mean, who am I to have a podcast? Am I worthy to, it's like, oh my God, we're all one piece of the gigantic puzzle, as she would talk about. I mean, I love the metaphor of life is a tapestry and we're all one thread. And it just wouldn't be the same if your thread was gone.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. And I did love that reading that in her book. And it gave me a sense of like, okay, if I'm not 100% there, I wrote a book called Design a Life You Love, which is about learning to love yourself.
yeah,
10 years ago. And I think we teach and share often what we're embodying and learning to embody for ourselves. And at 54, I'm in a much different place with self love than I was at 44. But who knows? Gosh, hopefully by 94, I will have gotten it down. But it's, it's a process in different seasons in our lives and
right,
different challenges that come up kind of can knock us off our game. But it's how do we move forward and have that vision for our life and take action even when we may not feel worthy. Like I loved how she's always had these visions. Like when I interviewed her, she said, "I have a 10-year
yeah,
plan."
yeah,
There she is at 102 talking to me about her 10-year plan. And she was committed to that plan. And I love that. And I love, she talked about the juice, your
yeah.
fire, and, really like living from that place of joy and purpose. So much of what she spoke about just resonated so deeply.
When I was listening to you and she speaking this morning, and she was talking about the 10-year plan and having the Village for Living Medicine, and that there
Yes.
would be a birthing center and
Yes.
a place where the elderly can go and finish out their days. And she said, I am committed to making this happen. And what hit me was she will probably be, because she was a big believer in reincarnation, she will probably be one of the first babies born in that birthing center as a,
Oh,
you know what I
wow.
mean?
Oh,
Like, yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, she will see it, but from a different set of
Oh,
eyes.
wow. That is so cool. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
I believe that for Gladys. She probably would or femifest it, as she would
yeah,
say, femifestation.
yeah.
I liked when she shared her concept of femifestation. I'm like, let's make that a word. Let's
I know. It's so
brand that.
good.
Let's get that out there. Yeah. And actually, when I shared it on Instagram, that clip, it did track. You know how that
Yeah,
gets like a lot of views that people seem to like it. I mean,
yeah.
who knows, it might take off or maybe people are using it.
Well, and the thing that I like about it also, and how she described it, was that it was, a spiral. And there,
Yes.
whereas manifestation is a ladder and it's more linear. And so
Yes.
we need the linear and we need the movement to make it all happen. But what just came to me while you were speaking was, you said, well, I hope you're 54, right? So like at 64, I'll have learned even more about myself. And, we just keep going on. And it's
Yes.
that whole idea of the spiral that, sure, a certain circumstance may arise and you would think, God, I thought I dealt with this already.
Yes.
But you're at a different level on the spiral.
100%.
So you're looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective. And
Yes.
so you're dealing with it in a different way. So it's just, I
100%.
love that whole idea.
Yeah, no, I totally did too. I thought it
Yeah.
was so cool and inspiring. I'm like, I've never heard of that, but that's so great. Let's share this because why
Yeah.
do we just have manifestation? Where is the feminine in that? Even though
Right.
there is, but I
Right.
just love the concept of feminifestation, especially how she
Yeah.
described it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I want to just ask you a couple of questions about you. Like, so you had a corporate background, right?
I do. Yes,
Oh,
I was in corporate. No, I did. You're right. I
okay.
did. Yep,
And
for 15
so
years.
where did I write that? I took some notes too. Oh, right here. So you say in your somewhere that I was reading about you,
In my
um,
bio.
that you had a moment where you decided to embrace your inner voice.
Hmm.
Was there a something that happened, or were you just at a place in your life where things weren't working and you decided, okay, because you had like a tricky childhood with, your spine and it sort of,
Yeah,
you
the
conformed.
scoliosis.
You
Right.
conformed to the brace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, yes, you probably read it. So just for anyone listening, right, I did wear a back brace for scoliosis growing up for 6 years, 23 hours of the day for the
Yeah.
first three from under my chin that dug into my thighs. And it constricts you to the point where you can hardly take a breath, and your breath is your grounding. And so even when the brace came off, it was almost like I had a metaphorical, energetic brace for a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time
Of
of,
course.
yes, of self-editing, people pleasing, not using my full voice. I never had it, access to it from the years of 10 to ages of 10 to 16, right? And so
Ugh.
to have that sense of expansion and to be in your body and your full voice, for me, I tend to have things percolate for a while. Like I have a voice, I have a sense, I know I'm supposed to approach. Sometimes it's instant, right? Like at some point, I was like, I'm done with corporate, and I knew and made the decision. But that, even that was probably building within my heart. Like felt like I was being called for something different. But the reclamation of the voice came for me and for many people, I think it does in pieces. So it was having done musical theater as a kid and
Mhm.
performing at Disney and, traveling around with our theater group and loving being on stage and then having to quit when I got put in the brace.
Ugh.
So as an adult, I was taking voice lessons. I haven't sung publicly since I was probably 12, but I don't have that necessarily the need to sing publicly. It was a reclamation for myself of something
Hmm.
that brought me joy. It
Hmm.
brought me more of that juice that Gladys
Right.
would talk about.
Right.
It gives me juice, singing, creativity. And then in 2008, I had a podcast. I put it on hold when I became a first-time mom, and it was in the back of my head. I need to do that again. I need to do that again. And at some point, once we moved from the East Coast to the West and I had settled, uh, the voice got louder. And that was another way, podcasting, which you're doing now too, Katie, and even
Hmm.
what you were doing with Gladys on those Tuesday lives, which I tuned into. I just loved hearing her. Anytime she spoke, I
Yeah.
wanted to hear it. And I
Yeah.
loved the dialogues that you would have and your insights and the way that you would dive into different topics. I thought it was really beautiful. But that was another way for me to reclaim my voice because you can use your voice in a different way. I'm doing it through the medium of podcasting versus being on stage, right?
Right.
So you can reintroduce those parts. But that's how it sort of unfolded for me. Usually it comes in stages. It's not
Hmm.
like I'm doing this and I mean, it was once I decided I do jump in,
Right. Right.
but to get there, it was more of an iterative, like, something that was within me that was kept whispering. And I'm like, it's time to answer the call.
And so, how do when we go back and think about Gladys, and being in medical school in the 40s and then having six children, and when her husband went off to be in the war, she was in their little their town of, oh, what was it called? Wesleyville, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay.
And she was the town doctor because he left. So she was the town doctor for, I don't know, 4 or 5 thousand people.
My God.
And she had these 6 children. Well, maybe she only had four then, but regardless.
Yes.
And so when we think about that, that would have been in the 50s. And I remember her telling me a story that there was a woman that came to see her,
Hmm.
well, came to the doctor and didn't want to see her because she was a female, even though this woman was, and she was like, no, I need the man.
Yeah.
And, I just cannot even imagine the tenacity and the strength that that took for her. And so what a way shower for the rest of us, right? To to
Completely.
to see that she did this thing. She had no There was nobody she was following the footsteps of besides her mother, which was a
Hmm.
beautiful example of how
Yes.
to do their medicine, if you will. But how have you found that for you, being a mother, having a business, being an entrepreneur, and sort of juggling all of that?
In terms specifically of like owning your sense of self or
Well, I think that
doing
and
all the
also
things.
just all the things. I mean, it's tricky.
Yeah, I give her credit with 6 kids. I have one. I have one. I have a stepson, but he's older. I still have a teenager at home. And I find it's interesting what you were saying about having the strength that she did to address that woman. And I don't know if we talked about it on my podcast or if I feel like we did because I know that story or it
Okay.
was in the book. Either way. So I remember talking to her about that as well. And for her having grown up when she did with all the messaging about the role that a
Yeah.
woman is supposed to play, I think that for many of us too, we're still in the dance. So I watched my mom be the homemaker, even though she supported my dad in his work, especially when he went out on his own. And so when there's not modeling for how to do it all,
Right.
it's hard to walk into that, which is partially what I did. I left corporate, I became a mom, and I put pretty much all of my work self on hold. And at some point realized, wow, that was a big piece of who I am. And I
Right.
have more I want to do and I want to share. And I had to get back into it. So for me, it looks like a slow process too of like going back to school, getting certified as a holistic health coach. I had already gotten certified as a life coach. I wrote my book. And then I started coaching. So it was sort of again, an iterative process of
Mm,
like becoming more of who I was meant to be and giving myself permission to do that. So for some people, maybe they had the modeling of seeing a working mom. And so that's the norm for them. For others, it might be like me. For others, it might be that they saw their mom not work and then wanting to go into it. So I
right.
think everybody's path's a little bit different. But I also love my mom the way Gladys loved her mom and admire my mom. And so for me, part of the dance was figuring out how to not feel like I had to do it like her in
Mm,
order to be, I mean, I love her so much to be this like worthy, lovable person and be the best kind of mom. Because she was literally the mom of every kid in the neighborhood, my mom.
oh, that's
We
great.
were that house, where all the kids
Yeah.
came over. And I sort of wanted to replicate that. And I was like, I had to learn how to separate from that image and step into my own sense of self and
Mm-hmm.
purpose and
Mm-hmm.
power that way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how it's looked like for me. And again, it's a process. And that's part of why, like I said, I started my podcast because what I don't want is somebody to be at the end of their life, 85, 90, or if we're fortunate enough, 103, like Dr. Gladys, looking back and thinking, I did live for everyone else.
Right.
And I stayed in that role of, where a lot of times women are valued for being of service and in service to others. Oftentimes that's where we are rewarded,
Yeah.
self-sacrifice versus like self-focus. And
Right.
so I'm inviting women to be more self-focused. It's okay to be, and it's important to take care of yourself and put yourself at the center sometimes, or, especially in the areas that are important to you, to
Mm-hmm.
reclaim those parts and take action, on those things that give you your juice, as
Yeah.
Gladys would say.
Yeah.
They give you
I
back your juice.
I feel like the younger generation that's where they're heading. I'm 10 years older than you. Well, nine, I'm 63.
Okay.
And, I feel like my mother, she sucked it up. She didn't, she did what my dad wanted her to do, and she didn't live the fulfilling life like her. If you could imagine seeing the juice drained out of someone's eyes, I could
Hmm.
see that in her. And
Oh,
I can I can look through pictures and go, she had it there. She still had it there. But then I
oh,
go further and it was like, nope, she's gone. She resigned herself to
yeah.
a way of being. And that is kind of what drives me. Like, I do not want to get to my deathbed
Yes.
and feel like, oh God, I didn't do it all. I
Exactly.
didn't really own it here.
Yes.
So
It's not a dress rehearsal. Like
yeah,
this is it. This is it.
yeah,
Even if we do reincarnate, it's not going to be in this form.
right,
This as Michelle and as Katie.
right.
Who knows? If we come
Yeah,
back like, Gladys believes, I believe in it.
yeah.
We don't know. And we are here. And I do believe we were given gifts. And that's what does whisper to us. That is what's calling us. That is what's inviting us. So how do we add some of that back in? And the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. So the more we fill our own cups, the more we also have to offer those we love.
Mm. That's so beautiful. And I think Gladys was a very good representation. Like she really did that well, even though she
Yes.
was so busy and doing all of the things. I think one of the things that did give her juice was, and maybe you talked about this with her or read it, but they had this house that was always filled with people.
Ah,
And so they had six kids, but there were usually like 15 people at the dinner table
wow.
because they always had other kids or visiting medical doctors or, gurus or whoever was
Mhm.
coming and staying with them. And so they just always had this lively conversation that was very expansive in learning about life, learning about spirituality, learning about medicine, learning about the body and holistic
Beautiful.
health and all of those things. Like they were so expansive. Um, yeah. I feel like,
That's,
oh,
yeah.
it's too bad my parents weren't really good friends with them because I think my mom really would have done well to have
Oh,
been a friend to her in that sense, and really like learn from her when she was younger. But oh well.
absolutely. Well,
Oh
I
well.
think we are of a generation that can focus more on self-actualization. There is more, it's a little more acceptable. And like you said, for the younger generation, it's definitely more acceptable. I'm sure they'll have their own barriers to,
Oh God,
face.
yeah.
But and yes, and for your mom or, parents of our mom's generations or whatever, there was an expectation. And so some women did break free. And like for me, one of the reasons we share that same passion and that same drive of like inviting people, like wanting people to have that fulfilling life. And I could have seen my mom do so many things, but part of me also goes, she's happy and she's so giving to her family, and that does bring her joy.
Hmm.
And even if there was more to that path that could have unfolded, as I don't want to, because I think at some point I was like, oh gosh, I wish she had done this or, more like she could have been a fashion designer or something else. She would
Right.
have been great. She was always for everyone else. But then it's like all I can control is my path at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
give her the love and gratitude for what she's done. But
Well,
it is
and
hard to see that when you see the light go out. That's why I do my show. If there's
yeah.
that spark in somebody, I don't want the light to go out.
Yeah. Keep it going.
Let's keep that light going. Whatever we
Yeah.
have to do to get more of that juice back in you, let's do it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And yeah.
I
And
would, yeah.
Gladys talked about, and actually Kathy Heller talked about this too, and she talks about it a lot. Um, uh, the light, letting the light shine through you. And Gladys always talked about it with, having a little flashlight. And when your flashlight is only shining in front of you, two steps at a time, trusting and having the faith that every step you take, the light's just going to keep leading you forward. But the more
Yes.
people, if I light your torch and you light someone else's torch, then the more light, the broader we can see. So exactly what you're talking about is, you know, the more you do what you do and you help women specifically ignite that or keep it going so they can find their juice and passion and move forward and, you know, do that. That's exactly, I think Gladys's mission. It's certainly feels part of my mission and certainly yours. So
Yes, I
it's
definitely see that in you too, Katie. And that's why I think you probably suggested doing the lives with her, right?
well, actually
Or was that
the
her idea?
no, it's funny
Oh,
because she when we reconnected,
yeah.
um it was at the beginning of 2020, so it was right at the beginning of COVID.
Mm.
And there was a guy by the name of Dr. Zach Bush. I don't know if you
Oh,
know.
yeah. I
Yeah.
know who he is. Yeah.
So, I was loving all of what he was all about, and he was
Yeah.
very much into bringing forward the feminine in medicine that we had lost. That was what he was talking about at that time, that we had lost the feminine nature of medicine.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need to connect these two. I need them to have a conversation. I want to be the one that introduces them. I didn't know him. So I reach out via Instagram, and his then wife got back to me, and she was like, oh my God, he would love to do this. And so at that time, he wasn't clear. Nobody was clear that you could have three people on an Instagram live and have it work. So they said, well, let's do a Zoom call and we can have a little chat. And then Gladys and Zach would do an Instagram live.
Oh, cute.
And so, of course, Gladys at 100 did not have an Instagram live. So
Yes.
get her an Instagram uh,
Account.
thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
she had like 8 followers because it was me and her family, right? And so we have the Zoom call. It was great. It was perfect. And then the next day we were doing the Instagram live, and it was so funny because he didn't really know how to do it. Obviously, Gladys and her son John had never really done it.
Yeah.
So I'm on the phone, I'm talking to Gladys and John. I'm also on the phone, I'm talking to Zach Bush's wife, and we're trying to all get them to push the right buttons to make the thing happen. And so it finally happened, and they were on for an hour and a half, and it was beautiful
Oh,
because if you've ever heard him speak, he can
yeah.
talk a lot.
Yes.
He was so gracious with her and allowed her to speak. It was really beautiful.
Mm.
I
Oh, I
just
want to
sat
see
there in
that.
tears. And so after that Instagram live, I called her the next day and I said, well, that was pretty successful. And I said, you now have 800 followers just from that one.
Wow.
And I said, people want to hear, they liked what you had to say. They want to hear from you. I said, would
Oh,
you like to do an Instagram live? We'll do it as long as you want to, because I really had no idea what her capacity and her stamina was, right?
yes. Yeah.
And so I said, let's just start. We'll just do it once a week as long as you want to do it. And the minute you don't want to do it, we'll stop. And she said, okay. So we started and then we never stopped
Oh
because
my God. I love that.
she was so into it. And John would tell me that even when she had a super, super full podcast schedule, like she was doing 2 a day.
Oh, I know. I was like, how are you doing this? I get
Yeah.
exhausted doing 2 interviews. If I do 2 or 3 interviews in a day, that's a lot.
Yeah. So he finally had to cut her back to once a day, but he said she never wants to miss our Instagram lives
That's
because that
adorable.
brought her the juice because it was spontaneous. She knows me. I'm not going to throw her some curveball and so
Totally.
we would call each other before, like a half hour before, and she'd say, "Well, what do you want to talk about today?" And I would always defer to her and I'd say, "Well, I don't don't know, what do you want to talk about? And she was like, well, I was thinking about
Oh
this.
my goodness. I love it. I can
And
see
so I
it.
was like, great, we'll start with that and then we'll see where the conversation goes.
I love this
And
so
so that
much.
was, kind of how it all started. And it was just super organic. And again, we just did it yeah, we did it because she wanted to keep going. And the only time we took a break was really when when her book first came out,
Yeah.
she was just way too busy and
Yeah.
she just didn't have the energy. So there were maybe 2 months that we didn't do it.
I love it.
But other than that, for 3.5 years, we were pretty much,
That's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah. Once I interviewed her and followed her, that's how I started
uh,
realizing you were doing these lives. And I was
yeah,
like, oh, I'm going to tune in anytime I can just
yeah,
because I just love what she shares and I love hearing her perspective. And I loved her book and I loved her energy. And also, Katie, when you reached out, you said, I want to talk to people who interviewed her to, just hear what impacted them.
yeah,
One of the things that I found really beautiful. I mean, I interview a lot of people. Everyone's lovely and gracious. I love all my guests. But when she came on, um, that second time, I hadn't talked to her in a year because she came on, at 102 and then back, whatever. Let's say it was 6 months later at
okay,
103. And she's like, Michelle, how are you? I haven't talked to you in a little while. And it actually made me a little emotional. I'm like, oh, nobody ever asked me how I am because I'm so hyper focused on the guest.
right,
But it was so genuine. And she was kind of giggling. She's like, nobody asks you. I'm like, no, but I can tell you're genuinely asking me. It wasn't just
right,
conversational, like, hey, how are you? Okay,
yeah, let's go.
let's
Yeah.
go. It was so lovely. And I ended up actually, I think, doing like a Instagram reel on that just because I was like, oh, I just interviewed Dr. Gladys and it's so nice and how important it is to ask someone how they are. Because even something so simple as that really made an impact on me.
Well, and then really actually caring and listening for the
Yes,
response.
true. Yeah, she was
So,
genuine. Yes,
and
she
one
was
of
so
her
genuine.
6 secrets is listening with love.
Yes.
You
And
know,
she walked her talk.
Absolutely. And that's why that book was so important for her to get out because it really culminated how, when you ask and people ask like, what's your secret? How did you live so long? Well, that's it. She lived from love. She
Mhm.
was, I heard her say to you, she was excited every day because she was still learning every
Yes.
day.
Which I love too. And it's true. I think I said, I'm going to ask you a question that I know my audience is going to want to know the answer to, which is like, what do you eat? What do you do? And
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
what I eat isn't necessarily what you should eat. I grew up in
right,
India, right? She said, those spices might not agree with you. So eat what
right.
agrees with you. It wasn't for her about, it was, have nutrition and nourish yourself, but it was more about what you're talking about,
Yeah,
the
of
juice and the love and the learning and having the purpose. That was
right,
big for her,
right,
right?
absolutely. And I think that, that moment when she claimed her voice,
Yes.
and, part of that was from her divorce
Yes.
and the rage that she felt from that divorce, and
Yes.
then realizing that he actually gave her her freedom.
Yes. So she
Um,
did talk about that on the second interview. And I was really glad because I was like, oh, when she comes back, I want to understand how she manages adversity.
right, right, because she's had a lot of it,
Well, of
she,
course, we
yeah,
don't, and we're seeing this amazing woman, and we want to know the longevity secrets, but also part of that is how do you manage adversity? Like she lost a daughter, right?
yeah,
We didn't talk about that. I did, we did talk about her divorce, and one of the things that I loved so much was she said she pulled herself over to the side of the road because she was feeling so distraught, and she remembered like a prayer, and it was like, go forward and be glad. And she's
hmm
Gladys. So she
hmm
went and she said, I consulted with the dog when she went home, and they'd agreed on be glad for her license plate.
yeah,
And one of the things that where I feel like I get signs is through license plates. So when
so
I
good.
see, so I thought of her the other day actually, because there was like I was thinking about something and wanting a sign, and I saw the license plate, and I was like, oh, Gladys would appreciate this because I said not only did it help you every time you saw it, but it helped somebody else probably
Right,
who got a little smile from that
right,
license plate.
right.
Be
Absolutely.
glad, right?
Yeah, that's so great. I love that. I have a patient of mine who she's a license plate person and she
Okay.
gets signs from the license plate.
Yes, I believe in it. It works for me.
It's so funny too, and I just texted my daughter. I always look at the clock when it's
Yes.
12:34.
Oh wow, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm like, what is the deal? What is that number? What is it in numeral? Like, why do I keep seeing 1, 2, 3, 4?
Did you look it up? Because
I
I
haven't.
tend
I
to always
haven't.
see I see 4, 4, 4 a lot and or just the yeah, or every time I look at my phone, it seems to be on like 111 or it's
Right,
222 or 444
right.
and I'll just screen capture it and I wonder in terms of the way energy works because I'm paying attention to that, am I seeing more of it too? You know what I mean?
True. Right, right.
But 1, 2, 3, 4 is very specific. So I
Yeah,
would just look up what is the symbolism
yeah.
of those numbers just to see if there's a message there.
It's so funny because I always screenshot it and I send
You
it to my
do.
daughter. I do. And
Okay,
I send
I
it to my
know.
daughter and I'm like, here we go again.
You're
Hello.
seeing it again, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm like tempted to do it right now. Let's see what the symbolism of 1, 2, 3, 4 is.
that's so
Um,
funny.
and the other one of the other things too that she wrote about in her book, and I've never heard anyone talk about it, but that I had actually written about in mine and done a solo cast was on this concept of living angels.
Mm,
And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to dive into this with you because it's, this idea that there's living angels out there. So there's just people, and they come in for me. When my daughter was born premature, C-section, I had a lactation consultant who, in my life at that time, gave me some strength that I really needed
mm.
to have my little preemie and leave her in the hospital. And she was like a living angel in my life.
Wow.
And I think we all have them. It might be literally somebody who says the right thing to you at the right time and you're never going to see them again. Somebody or somebody at the cashier like
Right.
says something and you're like, "Whoa, you just gave me a piece of like a little bit of comfort in my soul." I think there are living angels and then those who are with us longer or for more for a season.
And how did that come up for Gladys? I'm not
I'm
remembering.
trying to remember too. I'm literally wanting to pull her book.
I'm not remembering a specific instant where
I
she
know.
talked
That's what
about,
it just resonated with me so deeply because I'd never heard anyone use those words. But it was
yeah.
something that I always talked about. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And now, as I'm saying that, I was thinking that too. Now I want to go back and listen.
Well,
Maybe was it in that first episode because you just listened or
I
no?
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
speaking of that, I will say that so the date of her passing
Mm,
it just passed. It was September 28th. And I was out visiting my daughter in San Francisco and I said, okay, and we were getting ready. We were going to go walk around San Francisco all day and go to where my daughter works and, do this whole thing. And I said, okay, today is Gladys's anniversary of when she died. So let's just keep her in our heart and
mm.
let's just be open to any signs from Gladys. So we're walking, you're gonna freak out. So we're walking down the street and we're walking to Golden Gate Park. And so we're on the sidewalk going this way, and there's a woman that's crossing the sidewalk to get into a cab. Okay, so she's crossing us. And she's a little older. She's an old woman. She has white hair. She's walking with two canes and she's walking to get into the cab. And her hair was all the way up in the
I'm
crown.
getting goosebumps, Katie.
And the crown, it was so cute. The crown was made from those little black hair clips. Like she
Oh,
had clipped
yeah.
her hair, but it was still in the crown. And then her hair was in the middle of
Just
the
like Gladys.
thing, just like Gladys. And I looked at my daughter Grace and I was like, "Oh my God. Thank you, Gladys.
Oh,
Thank
that
you
I
for
got goosebumps when you
thank you for
just shared
crossing
that.
my path today." Like
Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm
I
still getting the goosebumps. I'm getting the chills.
I mean, I have never seen anybody wear their hair like that.
Never.
and so to see that, and she was a, yeah, it was just so perfect. I was like, thank
Oh, that's so
you.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so beautiful.
yeah. So I love that when,
Yeah.
like you were saying, uh, license
Living
plates,
angel. Oh, the
license
license
plates,
plates.
or
No, I know.
and living angels,
And living angels. And maybe
Yeah,
that woman was like a living angel.
yeah.
She didn't even have to speak. She gave you
No,
a little gift, like your message was received.
yeah, yeah,
You got from Gladys, she gave you a
yeah.
little
A
wink,
little
little
wink,
God
right?
wink, right? Yeah, a little
A little
wink, big,
sparkle.
a little sparkle because she's
Yeah.
so sparkly.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I have curiosity around I don't well, we don't have to get into it. I was gonna say in terms of what was she aware, like, or was it unexpected, her
oh
passing, or
God, no, it was so beautiful. She basically, so the last interview she did was with Carolyn Mace.
oh yeah,
So Carolyn Mace, myself, and her were on a Zoom call because
yeah,
Carolyn Mace didn't know how to do Instagram. It was actually
yeah,
pretty funny in the last
yeah.
minute. And so we did a three-way Zoom call, and because they were friends, they had been on stages together back in the day.
Okay.
And so it was a beautiful wrapping it up for Gladys. It was really, really lovely. And so we would have done an Instagram live the next week, and John called me to say, yeah, she's just too tired, and we've called in hospice. And
Mm.
I was like, oh,
You
we're
just did
there.
this call,
Yeah,
right?
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're there. And he said, yeah, that we're there. And I said, okay. So I talked to them, and basically Gladys said to her daughter-in-law, I just don't think I have the energy to take on another project. I feel my energy is starting to wane. And then she said, oh, no, I know what my next project is. It's death.
Oh my God.
And that's my next journey. And so she basically took 1 week to die. And
Oh my God.
like she said, I'm ready. And then a week later, she was gone. And
Oh
she
my God.
stayed at home. There was nothing wrong with her.
I
She wasn't
understand.
ill. She was
Wow.
just 103, and her battery had gone out. She was just ready
Wow.
to be done. So
That's
it was
incredible.
really, really beautiful.
Mm, that is beautiful. And she's so in tune that she
Yeah.
was clear. She knew. And she
Yeah.
was in acceptance, obviously. Like,
And it reminded me of the passing that we just witnessed with Jane Goodall. And Jane Goodall also said, my next journey is death.
oh gosh, you're giving me more goosebumps again.
She
I
said the
didn't know
exact
that.
same
No
thing. And I was like,
way.
oh my God, that was Gladys. So I think Jane also was
Wow.
super conscious about, this is my time, you know?
Wow. And they're both remarkable women who
Yeah,
left such an incredible legacy.
yeah, yeah.
That's incredible. No, wow, that's beautiful. And that's probably nice for other people to hear that story.
Mm,
Because, we didn't, I heard the news and I was so sad, but also so like in celebration of her because what a beautiful life.
yeah,
I
amazing.
mean, 103, like incredible. And she was cracking me up because when I interviewed her the second time, I believe it was, she had fallen off her tricycle.
Oh, yeah, and
Like
she
it bucked me
cracked a
off like a
rib.
horse.
Yes,
Yes. And she handled that with such grace. And I'm like, you are remarkable.
yeah.
Like some other people might have been like, I don't know, down for the count for a while, but she just seemed in good spirits. What can you share about like how she was, like her resiliency around things like that? Like how did she look at things like a fall or
I mean, I think some of the time it would be like, well, what can I learn from that? Like,
Mm.
what was I thinking at the time that I fell? Like, sort of the way she would look at dreams,
Yes, and
and
we
like,
talked about dreams, and I
right,
love that she looked at her
yeah.
dreams.
And so, like, what can I learn from this dream? Was it my foot, or whatever? And so she was turning left when the bike
Went over.
catapulted her
Yeah.
off.
Mm.
And I think the thing about she was never a victim, right? So there was not really any oh poor me, not that I ever saw, and not that anybody ever shared with me. And I think I
Yeah.
would have because I was,
Yes.
got very close with her son and daughter-in-law and,
Of course.
and so I think the thing when you ask the question about her aging and how did you do it, the fact that she was just so always self-aware and spent a lot of time in meditative prayer, so to speak, and that she would sing to herself hymns in English and in Hindustani, which was the language that she first spoke, that was sort of this ongoing in the back of her head, constant vibration, if you will. So she was sort of, yeah, she was like vibrating at a whole different level than most of us do, right? That tape that's always going in the back of your head was very different
Yes.
for her.
Yes.
And I think the fact, I know she mentioned on your podcast, she got a massage every week,
Yes.
50 years. So when you do certain things like that, that cares for your body, mind, and soul, your
Mm.
body is going to recover better because
That's true.
you're not falling into, oh no, what happened to me? Like that wasn't
Right.
her way.
Right.
It
Or
was
I'm too
like,
old to like rebound or something. She seems so. It
no,
was 3 weeks after it happened, and there she's on the interview. I was like, I
yeah,
don't know if I would have recovered that fast.
yeah.
She broke a few ribs, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think again, because, she would do herbs, she would do tinctures, whether it was
Mm.
homeopathic or, her favorite thing on the planet was castor oil. So castor oil packs around the ribs, that kind of stuff. I mean, she was very proactive about all of that. And I
Right.
think, once you let your mind go down into, oh, woe is me,
Yeah.
it's a whole different healing path.
Well, it's interesting too because she mentioned some older, like he might have been 98. Some guy was in the hospital and she was talking to him and he's like, I know I'm taken care of. I've got my mother and father. And she said, what? He was 98. He said something like Mother Earth and I don't know what the
Oh,
father, yeah, I don't know what the father energy
Father
was.
Sky,
Yeah,
Mother
maybe
Earth, Father
Father
Sky.
Sky. And
Yeah.
so, and so again, it was like a mindset thing that made this man resilient too. And I thought that was interesting too, that he crossed her path because she probably attracted sort of similar energy,
Right. Right.
right? So I
Yeah,
thought
I
that
mean
was cute. Yeah.
we attract that. You know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. Like I said, there was so much more I wish I could have asked her though. That's the thing. At one point I was thinking I was like I'd love to do a part 3 and then I heard the news. I was like, okay.
Well,
I
this is
I
your part three.
Oh my God, Katie. This is the part 3. This is the part 3. That's right. Being
Yeah.
able to share the
Yeah.
impact she made. I
Yeah.
mean, remarkable,
Yeah.
remarkable woman.
Yeah.
And how do you carry her every day, Katie? I'm sorry. I'm so used to doing interviews
Yeah,
now. I'm like,
no, I mean, I talk to her, and
yeah,
especially if I need help, I'm like, Gladys, what would you do? Or Gladys, I had this dream, and I write it down and process it and try to figure it out. But yeah, she's close to me often, you know,
yeah.
um, in my heart and just holding that energy. Um, yeah, which is lovely.
It's beautiful. Yeah, what a gift for you. And
Okay, and I shared this story on the last podcast that I did, but I have to tell you because it's going to blow you away. When she was
please.
dying,
Yes.
I really just wanted to talk to her
Mm,
and tell her how much I loved her.
mm,
And they kept saying, well, it takes a lot for her to speak. And I was like, she doesn't have to talk. Just hold the
right.
phone to her ear so I can just
Yes.
tell her and say goodbye,
Of course. Yeah.
And so her other son that was staying with her said, okay, we'll do that. And so I was at my office. I'm a chiropractor, and I was at my office and I was like, hang on, I got to take this call because he called me right away and I'm like, I'll be right back. So I go in my office and he says, okay, I've got the phone next to her ear. Well, she started talking. And so we were talking over each other, basically, telling each other how much we loved each other and,
Oh,
just the
Katie.
whole thing. And so I finally said to her, "So Gladys, are you in both worlds?"
Yes.
Because she talked about that with her sister's death, that her sister was in both worlds and that her sister was being escorted by their ayah, which was like their nanny,
Oh, yeah, the nanny.
and that the ayah had taught them how to play the hand drum, and
Mm,
she taught them how to sing the hymns in Hindustani. And I
yes.
said, Gladys, and she said, yes, I'm in both worlds. And I said, is Aya there? And she said, yes. And her voice was very weak. And she said, yes. And there were singing Christmas hymns in Hindustani. And all of a sudden, she belts out a song in Hindustani to me over the phone. And I am just, tears are pouring. And I'm like, why am I not recording this? I just, it was like, no, just be in the moment. It was so unbelievable to me that she was singing basically to me from the other side.
Oh my God.
And then she finished the song, and then her voice went kind of weak again. And I was just like, I love you
Speechless.
so much, and I'll
That's
see you, I'll
incredible.
see you
Again, more
again.
goosebumps.
I'll
That
see you
brought
again.
tears to my eyes. Yes,
Yeah.
you will see her again. Oh
It
my
was like,
God.
I will see you again. It was,
She,
it was really other,
Katie, that
otherworldly.
literally was
Yeah.
otherworldly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to get that strength in her voice to like when
Because it wasn't her voice, right?
I
I mean,
understand.
yeah. I mean, it was just,
Right, because on the other side, there was the vitality back.
yeah.
She was pure energy and love
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Energy and light. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah. So I feel so grateful that she was in my life, and it happened so organically. There was,
Yes.
and so it was just a beautiful gift to me. So that is why I want to keep, I'm still doing the Instagram lives. Her son Bob and I do them. And
Okay.
that's super fun. He's a psychologist and
Oh,
we have
cool.
great conversations
I
and
bet.
he's lovely. But I wanted to do something a little more podcast just it has a place to land. It has a more of a home than an Instagram live does. So that
Yeah.
people could more easily go back and look at different conversations. It's really hard to scroll through the Instagram live thing and figure out what did you talk about that day? I have no idea. So,
It's true. And it gives
yeah,
people accessibility in a different way as well.
yes,
And there's something
yeah,
so intimate about the medium.
yeah,
I'm a huge fan, obviously. I know there's a lot of people watching YouTube to watch podcasts, but I
right,
still think that a lot of people like just to listen, like they're going to hear it and feel
yeah,
like they're just sitting with us
yeah,
with
yeah,
their cup of coffee or tea or
yeah.
whatever Gladys. What would Gladys have drank? What was her drink of choice? Do you
She just
know?
had water. She just had water
She didn't drink coffee. Oh, she did drink coffee though, because I
a
remember
little
watching
bit.
her, yeah, in the morning, maybe
Yeah,
a cup, but she was a water person.
yeah, yeah. So, oh,
Beautiful.
Gladys.
Gladys.
Well, do you have any last anything in your notes that you didn't say that you wanted to say about, just how she impacted you or what lasting memory you have of your beautiful conversations? I will definitely go listen to the other one that you did that I didn't hear yet.
Is more, I'll just speak from my heart. She was such a gift. She was light incarnated, and she
Mm,
just shined that light onto whoever was lucky enough to be around her. I wish I could have been at one of those dinner tables that you
yeah,
mentioned. That would have been incredible. And I just feel so grateful that I got to connect with her twice, got
yeah,
to not just enjoy her presence and what she shared, but then also to share it with my audience because that was part of the ripple effect of, I think, of her work and her purpose.
mm-hmm,
And I think of her and I miss her. And I mean, I didn't even, right? I interviewed her twice. It wasn't like the relationship you had, but when I saw that license plate the other day, I'm like, hey Gladys, like I
yeah,
was
yeah,
talking
yeah,
to her too. Like I'm like, hey Gladys, we share this like license plate thing. So um yeah, she just reminded us all to pursue what was important. And
right.
I uh, I fully agree with that. And I hope to lead a fraction of the impact that she made in this lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if we all do our part, and she showed us a way. And that was the other thing about, I was, everybody said I could use the name of the book for the podcast name, The
Oh
Well-Lived Life.
yeah. Oh, perfect. Is that what you're doing? Oh, that's
Well,
lovely. I
but
don't
then
think.
I changed it because I decided that I would do the art of a well-lived life so that
Mm,
everyone has their own, because we all have our own interpretation of what that means. What does a
yes.
well-lived life mean to you?
Right.
And
Right.
yes, she gave us her example, which is a beautiful and guiding light, and we can look at that. Um, and okay, I just have to say something right now.
What are you
Right
seeing something
next,
behind
yeah,
me?
do see something behind you.
What do you see?
To your left shoulder,
This
there is
side?
yeah, right there. Your thumb is right next to it. There's this whole white thing that's illuminated, and it's like a little figure. I have no
Should
idea.
I turn around? Now I'm curious.
It wasn't there all the time. So it's just the way the light is hitting something.
Wait, on this side or that side?
That side, the other one.
This
Yep,
this
right
one.
there. Right there. Your hand is in it. And now your hand is, so it must be the light coming in from a
The
window.
light is coming in from a window, but what is it
It's
casting for you? What do you
It's
see?
a kind of just a funky little shape, but it's very illuminated. Like it's
Oh
very
my
like
goodness.
there's a little being next to you. That's such a trip. Okay. Hi, Gladys. We are so glad that you
Gladys,
are here
we
today.
love you. You're
We do love
amazing,
you.
Gladys. You've made such an impact, and I'm so grateful. And Katie, I'm so grateful you included me in this.
What a joy. What a gift. Thank you so, so much for saying yes to coming on. And
Oh my goodness.
I'm,
Thank you for reaching out. I'm
yeah,
so honored, truly
yeah.
honored.
So glad this could be your part three.
So glad. We
Yeah.
need to be glad. Be
Yes.
glad. I guess that's what I'd say. I'd use
Yeah.
Gladys's motto, go out and be glad, be
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. I love that thing. That is just so wild.
I
Um,
can't wait to rewatch it now. I want to see what you're seeing because I see the light, but not the figure. So
yeah,
that
and
might
it
have been
just
for
wasn't
you.
there. It just wasn't there before. So,
Katie, it was for you. I
yeah,
think that was
thank
for
you.
you. I
Yeah.
think that was Gladys giving you a nod saying you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I have tears in my eyes now too.
Me
So,
too. Me too.
Michelle, you're a gift. Thank you. Keep
You
doing
are a
what you're doing.
gift.
And so, how do people find you if they want to hear more about your podcast or your coaching?
Yeah, I'd love to invite if people want to hear the podcast. I would, if you want, I'll send you the two links. You can include it in the show notes of the
Okay, great.
interviews so they can get more of Gladys and how she impacted. But yes, my website's
Okay.
thegoodlifecoach.com.
Okay, great.
And yeah, that's the best place to
Okay,
connect.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie.
All
Such a
right.
gift, such a
Okay,
pleasure. Bye
bye.
bye. Oh, you.
Well, what an amazing conversation that was with Michelle Lamoureux from the Good Life podcast. And she's also a coach and helps women so that they can just maintain and reignite that spark within them so that they can live with the juice that Dr. Gladys talks about or talked about so often. So, what a pleasure it was. I hope you enjoy the conversation, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.